The women that you're about to meet were kids when their parents joined a group then known as New Tribes Mission, one of the largest evangelical missions in the world, operating in remote parts of more than a dozen countries. But while their parents were off teaching the Bible, they were sexually abused by fellow missionaries, and now they want to make sure it never happens again. If I asked all of you as a group, what's this about for you? Is there a word?
Truth. Justice.
Justice.
5 women speaking out on national TV for the first time, exposing years of sexual abuse by men devoted to preaching the Word of God. As children between the late 70s and early 90s, they lived in some of the hardest to reach places on the globe. Their parents sent to work as Christian missionaries by a Florida organization then known as New Tribes Mission. The kids were placed in boarding schools where dorm fathers were in charge. They would lead devotional readings each night, then put the girls to bed. All say that's where the sexual abuse happened.
He would tuck me in at night, and he would just sit on my bed and stay too long.
Carrie and Bonnie both lived in Senegal, West Africa, where they say they were abused by their dorm dad, David Brooks. Over in the Philippines, Joy, JCL, and Kelly say they were abused by their dorm dad, who was also Kelly's biological father, Leslie Emery.
He would put the chair next to my bed and put his hands under the covers. To this day, I sleep with a pillow on either side of me.
I was roommates with almost every single girl that was molested or raped. And I had to pretend I was asleep as well.
You okay, Bonnie?
I need a minute.
When Carrie finally told her parents what happened to her, she says the mission tried to cover it up.
The mission leadership told my dad on the phone, "You are going to ruin this man's ministry if you keep talking about this."
So he continued to serve as a dorm dad in Senegal.
Yes.
After more complaints, the mission let David Brooks go back to the U.S. When Kelly reported alleged abuse at the hands of her father, she says mission leaders tried to silence her as well.
I was called in as a 15-year-old with 3 men in a room. They told me to not say anything.
Her family was abruptly sent back to the U.S.
Nobody calls the police? Nobody tells the authorities in the U.S. at least?
No one.
New Tribes Mission, now called Ethnos 360, admits more needed to be done. Child abuse in any situation is heartbreaking. Our heart goes out to any victims, a spokesperson told NBC News. In 2010, New Tribes commissioned an outside investigation into only what happened in Senegal. It found more than 20 children were sexually abused over 2 decades, and David Brooks, the dorm dad in Senegal, was by far the biggest offender.
Your abusers have not been charged with a crime?
No.
Are they on any kind of registered sex offender registry?
No. I think that's the scariest thing, is thinking that they're still out there.
We tracked down David Brooks in a small town an hour south of Atlanta.
I'd like to ask you some questions about Senegal, if I could.
You can, you may not.
I may not.
You may not.
Do you want to say whether an investigation found that you sexually abused multiple children? Do you want to respond to that?
No response whatsoever.
Leslie Emery, the dorm dad from the Philippines, lives in Virginia and agreed to speak. He confessed to abusing missionary kids, but not his own daughter, Kelly.
I did sexually molest those 8 girls there when we were living at the dorm. It always happened at night, and everybody was sleeping.
Do you think you should have gone to jail?
Yeah, sure. I should have been decapitated, probably.
As adults, every one of these women reached out to law enforcement authorities and were told it was too late to press charges.
How many of you worry this might still be happening?
Every day.
Yeah.
I think about that every day.
I think that's why this is so important, is just to show others that there's no shame.
You have strength.
Yeah. I'm strong for the little girl that was never able to say anything, and I'm strong for her, and I'm a strong woman, and will do my best to protect anybody who sees this and wants to speak out. You can come and talk to me. come and talk to me. I will protect you.
Ethnos 360, formerly known as New Tribes, told us they have made improvements in child protection policies, have recurring child safety training, and hired an independent team to review or investigate ministry locations. They say staff members were terminated and disciplined, and they set up a perpetual fund to assist victims with counseling. But the women we interviewed say that they were told they reached a limit and are no longer being reimbursed for any counseling. 2 of the women did, by the way, reach settlements with Ethnos 360.
Just blown away by the strength of these women.
Yeah.
You wonder, were these 2 guys ever reported?
So not to law enforcement at the time of the alleged crimes. Ethnos 360 did tell us that they did contact several authorities over the years, including, they said, local law enforcement officials where both men were living. But we called the sheriffs and the police in Virginia and in Georgia, and they told us they had no idea that accused pedophiles were living in their communities.
And these women, it's just incredible to see the 5 of them there. And some of them knew each other's children, presumably, and now they found each other now. And what gave them the courage to speak out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I asked that, and they said justice. They said they really feel like telling their stories now. Obviously, the Me Too movement and everything that's happened in the past couple of years has given them kind of a new voice, they felt. But they had never spoken on a national level, and they know this is going to open floodgates. They have a blog that they've been keeping up for years now that women have written into. I suspect they'll get a lot more traffic.
Do they still run these boarding schools?
So there are 3 of them in existence right now that now called Ethnos 360, the former New Tribes mission has. 8 children are in those 3, so that's far less than it used to be. And most kids are homeschooled.
What an extraordinary moment. You pick up the phone and call this man who's been accused, and he says, yeah, I did it, and I should have been decapitated.
It was incredible, and I was obviously on the inside feeling a lot in that moment. But he apologized as well. He feels remorse about what he did, but again, has never faced any consequence. Yeah. And legally, it's complicated why that is, but essentially it was too long ago, and it happened outside the U.S. before there were laws to protect American kids overseas.
Wow.
Kate,
extraordinary.
Great work.
Yeah.
Thank you.